Welcome, family. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Philly Strong, presented by Trackstar Sports, where it's all about the Philadelphia Eagles, 76ers, and competitive strength training. Let's get into it.
What up, people? Thanks for tuning in to another Philly Strong episode brought to you by MTMV Podcast Network. This is Aaron Simpkins, your host of Philly Strong. We are MTMV Podcast Network now, formerly known as Trackstar Sports. MTMV is my team, my voice. So find us on any major podcast platform. Wherever you want to look up a podcast, we'll be there. So, before I get into the interview I did with a friend of mine named Kevin Byers, who's a personal trainer, bodybuilder, has competed in bodybuilding competitions and all that. So he's also somebody who's very into competitive bodybuilding and just following the sport and looking into it, very much like how I am. So I figured since this weekend is the upcoming Mr. Olympia, and which is the Super Bowl of bodybuilding, why not call somebody up and just have a discussion with him and just talk about some of the major players in the competition. Talk about Phil Heath, the reigning champion, what we think he's gonna do, some sleepers. So in other words, just to give you the audience who's listening, who I'm assuming really don't know anything about bodybuilding, don't know any names to look up, don't know any major players, don't know what the Mr. Olympia is, don't really know what might go into a bodybuilding show. This is a good episode to listen to, a good interview to listen to, because I asked him about, what does it actually feel like from personal experience? What does it feel like to be a bodybuilder at this stage, a couple days before the competition? What is it like? What are you going through? So he gives his perspective on that, which is really cool. And again, we just cover the competition, talk a lot about different guys and just how we think, different things are going to pan out. So look forward to that. And just so you know, the Mr. Olympia is going to be live streamed online on iherb.com. It's iherb.com. It'll be 7 p.m. Pacific time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern time, Friday night, this Friday night and Saturday night, which is September 14th to 15th. So anybody tuning in, anybody listening to this episode right now, after I publish it, which is Thursday night, right before the weekend, you're able to watch that live. If not, you can go on YouTube, you can go on GenerationIron.com, I'm sure, MuscularDevelopment.com, many other websites to see replays of this event. So again, the Mr. Olympia is the Super Bowl of bodybuilding, so this is a big deal. If you're a fan of bodybuilding, this is a big deal. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys enjoy this interview. It really was more of a discussion. We just were, a couple friends just talking about something of mutual interest. So I hope you guys enjoy this and maybe learn something. You're definitely going to hear something you probably never heard before about a sport you probably know nothing about. So I hope you guys really enjoy this, and thanks for tuning in.
Simpkins. Mr. Kevin Byers.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful.
All right, just to give you give the audience a little introduction to you. You are a super entrepreneur gym owner, a personal trainer, competitive bodybuilder, super freak athlete guy, the guy everybody wants to be. So
He's very generous.
yeah. So why am I talking to you? We're here to talk about the Mr. Olympia, which is this weekend, the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. And I just wanted to call you as a friend of mine and somebody who pays attention to bodybuilding, knows some of the guys that are going to be competing. Let's just talk about it, give the audience something that they may have never heard before. So
Absolutely.
So do you have any initial thoughts or just going into the Olympia before we dive into specifics on guys? But you have any thoughts going into this year? Anything you want to see or hope don't happen or something like that?
Yeah, this being the Super Bowl of the bodybuilding industry. Last year I was excited because I thought Phil was going to lose. This year I'm even more excited because I think Phil's going to lose. But so many people are against me. But he's chasing his 8th crown, which will tie him with Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney. And he's at 7 right now. Oh my gosh, this guy is just so good that everybody's been chasing him for so long. I'm excited to see how he competes this year with Big Randy and also William Bonac. I was looking at some predictions from Rich Gaspari, and he actually has Randy overtaking Phil this year. So that gave me a little bit of hope.
I was going to ask you about Bonac to see if you thought he actually had a real chance this time. Because
Yeah,
I know
he just came off his first Arnold Classic win.
Yeah, coming off the Classic win, and what was he 2nd or 3rd last year in the Olympia? I think he was one of them, right?
Yeah, he was definitely top 5. I'm pretty sure he was 3rd.
And he looked really good at the Arnold. Yeah, he's kind of got that, like how Big Ramy has that freak factor, a lot of people like to call it, where he's just enormous and size-wise, he just blows everybody off the stage. Bonac kind of has that overall, everything looks good. And Phil is basically like that too. Everything looks good, but he's also that guy that everything looks good and he's a little bigger than the normal guy that has that type of package.
Right.
And he's always nailed. Well, I mean, there's a couple of years where he didn't actually nail his conditioning, but he's very consistent with his overall conditioning, I think, every year. So that definitely is a big plus for him. Do you have I have in mind one sleeper. Who do you think for a sleeper? Do you have anybody in mind? Maybe not necessarily somebody that could take the crown, but could possibly sneak in the top 2 or 3.
Right, so I think you always have to consider Dexter Jackson. I mean, this guy is 48 years old or something, and he's 10 years older than Phil, and he brings nothing but an absolute 100% every single year. So literally, if anybody's off their game, he can slide in top 3, I think, fairly easily. His stomach is never distended, stuck out or anything like that. He always keeps a really tight figure. I think a lot of it depends on how Rolly Rickler looks. He's always the gigantic mass monster, but he's a lot of the time had conditioning and stomach issues. And I think that's where Bonac really stands out, is on his front double biceps. He uses more of a vacuum technique on his abs, where everybody else is pressing out and down to show their abs. He always makes his lats look bigger, makes his stomach look tighter. He always looks really good. But I mean, last year I think Big Randy came in at 309 on stage weight. That's absolutely insane. So a sleeper, I don't know. Who's your sleeper?
This guy got 2nd in the Olympia. I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago now, probably. But he's still always consistently in the top 5, 7, I'd say. Sean Roden.
Oh, Sean Roden, nice.
I think just because he's always consistently very good. I don't think, just based off the genetics, I don't think there's ever a way that he could beat Phil, because he just doesn't have that. Genetically he doesn't have that same pure bodybuilding build that Phil has. But he always comes in good. He's worked on. I know he's worked on the last couple of years getting bigger. So if he's a little bigger than he was when he won, or not won, but he got second in the Olympia a couple of years ago. If he's bigger and brings that same conditioning, who knows what could happen.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say I think second place is Bonac. Well, it's really going to be between Rami and Bonac. I mean, this is it's really hard to say because Rami is such a question mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he nails his conditioning and has that mature muscle that has always been the criticism of him, if he comes in with that, because he's already bigger than everybody, does he blow everybody else away? I mean, he might. Do you from a bodybuilder perspective that you have, do you think if Rami comes in 100% and Phil is 95% or 90%, does Rami win that?
100%, absolutely. And I think part of this is due to the fact of last year, I remember really listening and reading about how Phil was looking, and the judges were talking about not only was Phil judged of how he looked last year, but it was in comparison to the years before. So did he improve? Did he step his game up? And the dominant answer was no. So if everybody else keeps improving and he's staying the same, then he shouldn't be staying on top eventually. Is this the year? I don't know. You mentioned Sean Roden. I have always loved his posing. Some of his poses that he goes through reminds me of like classic bodybuilding, like old school stuff. He's always very fluid. He never smiles. He's always stone faced. He's just solid all the time.
I don't know if how much you know of like the old school Arnold era guys, but he kind of reminds me posing wise of Frank Zane.
Okay.
Do you know him?
He also did the front double bicep with the hip pop to the side.
Yeah, that's probably what makes me think of it. He's actually the only bodybuilder to ever win the Olympia under 200 pounds. Little trivia note. But with what you said about Phil, I've read some stuff recently that said Phil has worked himself to actually be smaller this year and try to pop more, and bring out some more conditioning and striations and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if that's the right route or not, but you sound like obviously you want to see Phil dethroned. Part of me is like I love the underdog. Obviously, the Eagles just won a Super Bowl, like that's underdog story. But I love the underdog story. So anybody else that wins is an underdog right now. But part of me is also like it would be cool to say that I saw the record breaker bodybuilder. He wins this year, he wins next year. He's the top all time most wins. And because bodybuilding is kind of one of those sports where like it's typically ran by one guy or two guys for a long period of time. Like through Mr. Olympia, which was started, I believe, 1962, there's only been 13 winners. So
I was just going to say the same thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so if Phil, loses, which almost never happens. I think Cutler actually was the only one to win it, lose it, and then win it back again. I think he's the only one to ever do it.
Arnold did it one other time.
Oh yeah, when he came back in 1980, yeah. Well, but see, his was different because he didn't actually lose it. He just didn't compete again. But then
agreed.
what'd you say?
Agreed.
Yeah. When he came back and he stopped competing, I think in '76, and so obviously for a few years there was new winners, and then in '80 he came back and he won, very controversially, but he did. So yeah, if Phil my point is, if Phil loses, going by history, there's not a very good chance that we'll see him on top again.
Yeah.
So, we could be going through a whole nother decade or more to get to another champion that, wins consecutive years. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I thought too much into it, but.
No, I completely agree. And speaking of all the years that have gone by, I'm still missing Kai Green.
Yeah.
I still miss him. And Dennis Wolf competed last year, but he's not this year. He's still, I don't know what he's doing after his neck surgery and stuff. He definitely doesn't have the size anymore.
Yeah.
Guy Cristiano had double shoulder surgery. He's still recovering. So there's definitely some big names missing. So, but I'm excited for the future. I mean, whether Phil goes down this year or not, I think the future is very bright because there's a lot of young, really good talent.
And that's true. And I think it's fair to say the top young guy right now would probably be Bonac.
Yeah.
Although he's not super young though. I think he's mid-30s if I'm correct. Which in bodybuilding is actually pretty much your prime, and right around 40. Or so I've heard. I don't compete in it, so I wouldn't know from experience. But yeah, I'm excited though. I'm just excited to see how it all pans out. I miss guys like Branch Warren. I know he hasn't competed for a couple of years, but I miss him. Just being that little super hardcore gym rat guy that is always a competitor on stage. But his whole thing during his career was he just never had the genetics to be the top guy, even though he did win the Arnold. But
his vascularity was always the best.
Oh yeah, he was insane with that, and his dryness.
Yeah.
I'm right with you though about Kai Green. I don't know if you I know he's out doing his own thing in Hollywood and acting and doing all kinds of stuff, but and not competing in bodybuilding. But right now, I've heard a lot of people, and just from pictures I've seen that he's posted, a lot of people say that he's in his best condition he's ever been right now, and he's not even competing.
Yeah.
So it'd be really interesting.
He's always looking good.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what him and Phil would do on stage. But I guess we'll never know.
So another thing I'm excited for is in the 212 class, the last, let's see here, I think this will be the 6th year of Flex Lewis is going for his 6th title. And after this, he's bumping up to the big boy class. So what's your opinion? Do you think he can do some damage?
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, did they officially announce that that's what he's doing? He's bumping up? Because the last I saw, his trainer, right?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last stuff I heard. He's on the social media. He's saying one more round and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess that's how people are taking it.
I'm really excited for that. I think it'd be smart for him to take probably a whole year off to work on getting up to that weight and being used to it. But I'm excited for that because obviously he's the 212 champion and has been forever, and so it'd be great to see him as a champion move up and just see what he can do against the bigger guys. I've always liked Flex though. What, from your perspective, what do you think would be like this? What are his chances moving up to the open weight?
If he pushes about 235, maybe mid 230s, I think he can compete, maybe crack the top 6, I can see. But I don't think his body is capable of gaining much more muscle than that. I think a week ago he posted a picture. He was about 223, 224. So I don't know if he's physically able to do that or not, but I guess I hope to find out.
Yeah, and you know, just to let the audience know, keep in mind bodybuilders are not tall guys. So, like Flex Lewis, why we say we don't think he could add much more weight, because I think he's only like 5'4" or 3 or something like that. And we're talking about a guy that's 5'4", but it's 220 and, you know, 2 or 3% body fat. But just think of how much muscle that is. So to say for him to get up to 230, 240 and still be in that condition, it's insane.
Yeah. I don't know how much longer he could hold the crown at 212 though. Last year it was super close for him against Ahmad, and he's coming forward again this year, so maybe it's a good move for him. He takes the next year off, bumps up a class. Ahmad's probably going to win that the next couple of years. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Now, would you say, what do you think made him think of moving up? Do you think it was because he saw his competition getting greater and he wanted to leave as the king of that weight and then just move up? Or do you think it was just he's just done with it and wants another challenge?
I would say those both play a huge role. From a competitor standpoint, I would hope that he's choosing a new challenge.
Yeah, that is there's a few guys in the 212 division that I think have a chance of taking it this year. Yeah, it should be exciting overall though. And I had another. What was my other question? Yeah, Dennis Wolf, I don't believe is competing. If he does, I mean, Dennis Wolf was somebody who was always was a high competitor, always finished high, but I don't think he's competing. And even if he is, he won't finish that high because he's got to build up his body a lot more to be what it was. Am I missing anybody? Is there anybody we haven't named in that top? You know what? He is always that guy that you just have no clue what's going to happen with him. I think it was 2 years ago, either at the Olympia or the Arnold. He was super disappointing. Like he finished like one of the bottom slots, and then the next year he wins the Arnold, and then the next competition, he's down at the bottom again, and so he hasn't figured out how to dial it in, right? At the time that he needs. But he is one of those guys with the big frame and the classic look and stuff that he has. If he's dialed in, he honestly at 100%. Could actually give like Bonac and Rami and all a run for their money.
Yeah. The crazy thing is he's 6'1". Like he's crazy tall for a bodybuilder, and Big Granny is pretty tall, but he's 5'10". So like you stick those two next to Phil and they look like giants.
Yeah, I mean, I think Phil is like 5'8" or something like that.
Yeah.
And Dennis Wolf was always one of those tall guys too. He's like 6 foot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're what are you, 6'3"?
Yep.
What was your biggest on stage weight?
220.
Yeah, that's even a guy at 6'3", 220, and what were you? You were single digit body fat, obviously, right?
Yeah, I did a show the next weekend also, and I was 213.
Wow. And just to kind of help put it in perspective for people, like how much muscle these guys are packing on to a small frame. So let's kind of get an inside perspective a little bit. These guys are now, last couple of days of the competition, coming in on it. What are these guys mentally and physically, like, from your competitive experience? What are these guys going through right now?
So from my standpoint, the thing you almost want the most is water, because you're depleting your water. You got to be dehydrated for the contest that I do. And so that's like really the biggest struggle. From there, you're thinking about that all the time, and then still got to stay sharp mentally. So it's a big process. You got weigh-ins, and then you got prejudging, and then your night show. But these guys, nutrition and supplement levels is on a whole nother level, obviously. So I can't speak for what they're going through, but it's a lot of it is just a mental game. It is exhausting.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard is if you're not right mentally, you might as well not even try.
Yeah,
because
and it's crazy the stuff you go through for 1 minute on stage to do your routine. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like what? Like so. So what's wrong with you to want to do that?
The competitive itch, I suppose. I mean, I kind of feel it as it's a revealing reward for how hard I train to then see what I've been able to produce.
And keep it competitive because you're against other guys who have done the same thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's other sports I can't do anymore, so this is one I still can, so that's what I try to do.
You were big into basketball, correct?
Yes, sir. Concussions took a toll on that, so had to find a new love.
I've seen your crazy dunk videos. You still got it,
Not
right?
bad for a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, it's good to it's good to. Personally, and this is like a little bit of a rabbit trail, but to me the best build is somebody who is strong and muscular, but also athletic still. Because you're functional for life, I think.
I was
but
just
then
thinking the same word, functional.
Yeah. But for me, I'm nowhere near what a bodybuilder looks like, or even any kind of athlete looks like. But no matter what I look like, there's always going to be that side of me that I'm still going to want to always just lift weights. That's just what I like doing. And I think just learning how to lift weights, but also stay functional and stuff like that is very key. Because 99.9% of people that lift weights are not going to be on the Mr. Olympia stage. Probably, even more than that, 99.99999%. So those guys just take it to another level. But
Good.
Yeah. So I'm excited. You have you set up the plans to not have anything else go on at like midnight when the open class is showing and you can watch it online?
Yes, I'm so excited because I tell you what, I screwed up. I'm so used to this Vegas time that, I remember last year staying up real late, ending at 1:30 or so. And so when the Arnold came on this year, I'm like, all right, 11 o'clock, the Open's about to come on. And I start streaming it, and the doggone thing's almost over. Well, I forgot, that's in Columbus, there's no time change, so I missed the whole stinking thing. So I'm super excited to get back on track and watch this great contest.
Yeah, that's that's right. I guess you would be in the same time zone. Yeah, I got to figure out what it's going to be for me because I'm Eastern. Yeah, I'm excited. Just overall, I'm excited. I'm excited to see again what happens with Phil. Is he going to be the the third guy tied for the most all time, or is this when his reign ends? And if it does end, I'm super excited for whoever wins it, just to see what they can do, you know? So I think there's a good crop of guys. Unfortunately, we had a big passing guy who passed away in Dallas McCarver, and he was known as the guy who was the next one. You know, he was the mid to late 20s guy, so younger than everybody else, but already bigger than everybody. And all he had to do was just work on his conditioning. And once he got it, everybody thought he was going to be the next one for a long time. But when he passed away, it's kind of more open now.
He was amazing. I got to see him and Big Randy and Phil guest pose in Pittsburgh, and
oh wow,
Big Country came out weighing like 345, and it was just like holy smokes. Yeah, it was an absolute shame that he passed away. He was definitely an upcoming spectacular athlete. So for one of the final questions, I got to ask you: if Phil loses this year, is he going to continue to compete? Will he be back next year?
I think it might depend in the fashion that he loses. If he's way off and he ends up getting like third place or something, then maybe he doesn't. Or maybe he would take that as he's coming, you know, he would come back to redeem himself. I don't know. That's hard to say, because I know when Ronnie lost it, when he lost it, he did come back, and he was nothing. You know, he was nothing compared to what his champion days were the year after he had lost it the first time.
Right.
And I don't know. I think Phil is still young enough, and he's always been injury free and all that. So I think he's healthy enough and young enough to where he could do that. It's not like a Dexter situation where, you know, you're basically 50, and if Phil was 50 and he lost, then I think it's a good time to hang it up. But I'd probably lean towards he comes back. I mean, think of it, for the last 7 years or so, 8 years, all he's done is the Olympia. He never competed in anything else.
Yeah.
He's only ever once done that one show those last almost a decade. So he's never really had any injuries that I know of. So I wouldn't see physically. I wouldn't see any reason why he couldn't. What would you say about that?
I think if he loses, he'll be back. I think one of the things that he does so well is he embraces the villain card.
Yeah.
I think that's the way he's portrayed, and I think he likes that. So I can definitely see him coming back and pleading his case, if you will.
Now, if he lost this year, comes back, loses next year, then I would say he's definitely done.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, I think we pretty much gave the people a good preview of it. Some things to look out for, some names to look for. Anything else you want to add, or are you pretty good?
No, sir. I think that's good.
Yeah. Well, why don't you say again who you are, what you do, and kind of, you know, give people how they can find you and follow you and stuff.
I appreciate having me on for the interview, Aaron. My name is Kevin Byers. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat at Iron Maid Gym, and we'd be happy to help you out any way we can. And I'm looking forward to seeing if Phil loses.
There you go. Thank you, sir, for joining me. And
yes, sir.
I'll be texting you during the weekend. We'll talk about what's going on.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, man. See you later.
All right. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.